Life sucks when you eat clean. So when I was overweight, I had the notion that once I lose the weight, I will look good and feel good, right? So when you're fat, you have all these things that are negative about being fat. So you get out of breath when you walk up the stairs, you sweat, your clothes don't fit right, you've got no confidence and self-esteem. Just all these things. Anyone that's overweight knows that there's things that constantly go through your mind that as a result, it kind of tarnishes your life experience. And you think, if I lose weight, all of these are going to go away and I'll just be like one of them models. You know, models in adverts kind of look carefree because they're beautiful and photoshopped and all of that. So you think when you lose weight, all of these things are going to go away and you're just going to feel good all the time. But what I've realised is you don't really feel any better, you just look better. So, and that's because you're removing vices. So let me try and explain what I mean. When you're overeating as a stress management system. So you feel a bit agitated or uncomfortable and then you eat to fix it. So you might be bored, so you're eating out of boredom. You might be lonely, you're eating out of loneliness. And then hunger has got like a small amount to do with it, but that's not normally why you eat. But there's all manner of vices you can use. You might smoke, you might drink, you might overeat, you might gamble. There's loads of things. So I realised once I've removed a lot of the vices, but the food was the main one for me. Once I realised I'd removed them, and I was kind of like, not miserable, but compared to everybody else around me, I seemed less happy. And I was like, why are they so happy and I'm not? I wasn't miserable, I was just kind of, I don't know, not bubbly. Like, no, that's not really a good way of putting it, but you know, like the happy fat guy, larger than life, happy dude. That kind of went. And I realised everybody else is on some sort of a vice. I don't drink caffeine either, I don't drink coffee. So I don't have that over, like, exuberance of energy. So I had people around me with loads of energy, really happy. And I was like, oh, these people are just still using vices. That guy's smoking, so he's happy. If he doesn't smoke, he'll probably be miserable. That person's overeating sugar and rubbish food, and that person's a drinker. Do you know what I mean? So if you remove all the vices, and I think this is where stoicism comes in. They're not in reality. They're not seeing the world as it actually is. Like, I'm tired at 3 o'clock. I don't drink caffeine. So when I'm tired, I don't compare myself to the guy that's running around doing loads of stuff. I'm not competing. Like these people that drink like 10 coffees a day, I'm not competing with them because I don't drink caffeine. I would have to drink 10 coffees a day to compete with them, and I don't do that. So when I go into work, I work in the evening, so I've like had all day that I'm doing stuff, so I'm quite tired when I go to work. When I turn up and other people are like really bubbly and energetic, I just think, well, they've probably drunk coffee. Or if they're super happy, they've probably just binge ate bad food, or they might smoke. Now some people don't do any of that, but I find their moods aren't like roller coaster. They're not really happy. They don't ever have like real spikes of happiness. They're just baseline, stoic. So if you normally overeat, you will be used to that like high dopamine spike where you get highs, you feel good after eating all these foods, and that's why your weight creeps up, because you're a bit bored, you eat the food, it makes you feel good. You wouldn't habitually do it if this wasn't the case. So you eat the food, you feel good, and then it kind of wears off, and then you eat the food and you feel good. Now when you eat real food, which is single ingredient foods as found in nature, it doesn't do that. It doesn't put you on that roller coaster where you feel really good and then you come down. You just kind of feel baseline. Now if you've overeaten hyperpalatable foods for a long time, that baseline, instead of feeling like normal, it's going to be down here because you're used to a heightened baseline that's up there. So I hope that makes sense. So for example, if baseline's here, there is scientific backing for this. I think Andrew Huberman calls it the dopamine wave pool. It's like if you've got a pool and there's a big wave of dopamine when you smoke the cigarette, or you eat the junk food, or you drink the beer, or you do the roulette spin. But then it comes down past baseline lower. So there's like like a come down. It comes lower than baseline, so you feel worse. So what's happening is when you get rid of all these bad foods and you just eat real food, instead of being at baseline and feeling basically okay, you're below baseline. And you've got to wait for that wave pool of dopamine to kind of reset. And then if you do it slowly over time, that's why my front-loading method to cure binge eating works. Because you'll never just... Most people try and quit cold turkey, and then they take their dope from like extremely high to really low, and they can't handle it. That's why people kind of yo-yo. They have the high dope, then they get rid of the bad food, and it just goes like that. So you want to implement it slowly over time instead of dropping down and feeling like crap. So that's what I've noticed. Life will suck if you just remove all of the bad foods and go to real foods only. You'll feel basically rubbish, because all of the reasons that you binge ate in the first place haven't gone away. And this is just a stress management issue. Because there's stress of life, you might be tired, you might be bored, you might be lonely, you might be hungry, all these things, and the majority of the people you come into contact with will be doing some vice to fix it. So if I'm stressed, so for example, I've had some quite stressful events in my life recently while I'm trying to diet, and normally as soon as the stress comes, I just eat food to kind of solve it, and it does solve the problem. I feel better. But this time, because I was had conviction on what I was eating, I was like, no, I'm going to stick to real foods and I'm going to ride it out. But you don't feel like that model that's on the cover. You don't feel strong and powerful because your dopamine's just getting wrecked and stress is coming at you. And most people will, oh, I'm tired, drink a coffee. Oh, I'm stressed, smoke a cigarette. So I just want to prepare you, if you're like new on the weight loss journey, you're not going to feel as good as you look. You're going to look better than you feel. So just be prepared for that. So my actionable step is check out my binge eating video, implement front loading if it's food that you're trying to do, front load nutritious foods, and be stoic. Realise when everybody else looks happy, they wouldn't be happy. They'd be just as miserable as you are feeling if they didn't have vices. And that's fine. People are allowed to. You can smoke a cigarette. Some people, I think, if you got that much of a like stress mentality, for some people smoking might actually make them live longer, because if they would stress, the stress would do them in quicker, if that makes sense. But I would rather try and adapt to the stresses of life and be in reality. So that person's not in reality when stress, or you're not. If you're having stress come to you, the stoic way would be to look at it and go, I'm going to deal with it. Or you can escape from it by doing these vices. So my actionable step is be stoic, essentially. Be in reality. Look at the problem as it actually is. Don't try and escape it with vices. Done. So I guess my point was, you overeat as a stress management system for all of the things in life that are causing stress. And when you stop overeating, you're just left with those things. So the boredom, the loneliness, it all comes back and it doesn't go away. And that's what you have to deal with. And it's stoicism that's going to get you to deal with that correctly. So you can either escape it through overeating again, or you can be stoic and face it and be in reality. So that was kind of my point. You're overeating because of stress, when you stop overeating, you're just left with the stress. The stress doesn't go away, and that's why you don't feel any better once you've lost the weight. You might feel slightly worse because now you've got to face stress. But if you learn how to manage it correctly, then it's not a problem and it's sustainable. So there is light at the end of the tunnel.